Says with great offensive players, Laettner and Hill, but Duke does it with D. All right, that's what starts everything for them. Look at this, and as they do, number one is ball pressure, number two is ball denial, and number three is help. Watch how he was here. Right here's, look at Hurley, right, causing all kinds of ball pressure. You got somebody in help right there, right? Grant Hill's in help. All right, but when he gets beat, look at Christopher Laettner. He's getting ready to help if need be. That allows Grant Hill to come over and get back in front of his man. There it is. Now when they pick up the dribble, guess what? It's ball pressure and denial time again. Oh, this is great. They do a marvelous shot. What happens when you get beat? Help! I told you. Here it comes. And then with the help comes a double team, a steal, and yes, that's when the offense takes over. And this young man is going to be one of Duke's best, Grant Hill, because he can do it defensively, he can do it offensively. But the big thing about, Duke is everyone talks, as I said, they're great offensively. Number one, it starts with D.
Now, you heard Louis Carnesecca talk about it. Some teams you have to beat their personnel, some teams you have to beat the system. With them, it's both.
I thought that was very well put. There are systems coaches, and there are coaches who really worry about just the personnel. In this case, Mike has a great system. He's been there for, I guess, 11 years now, or 12. Number two, he's got great players. Tough to beat. Duke's going to win it.
And look for the freshman. Cherokee Parks is a great one out of California, doing a tremendous job in the middle, taking some of the load off Christian Laettner. That game is straight ahead. Duke and St. John's. We will return to Greensboro. Ron Franklin and Dick Vitale are standing by.
I don't feel content at all, and I don't think our team does. It's the best thing you can do in college basketball, and there's no reason for us not to want to do it again.
I think we have to be a lot tougher mentally last year. I think they got us out of our game plan. If we execute and we stop them on the offensive end, then we'll be good.
Both teams are going to be real hungry. We're going to go after it tonight. And really, whoever wants it more is the one that's going to win.
Well, this is the matchup we've all been waiting for. Number one against number 7, the final game of the ACC-Big East Challenge as the Duke Blue Devils, the defending national champions, take on St. John's. Number 1 against number 7. And, Dickie, one thing we found out, it is not only early in the year, and this is a challenge between the ACC and the Big East, but St. John's said at their shoot-around today, hey, they're getting tired of being beaten by Duke. They've been knocked out of the tournament 2 years in a row.
Well, I'll tell you what makes this game so special, Ron. When I got my schedule and I looked at it, I got so excited. I couldn't wait. I'd look at this date. St. John's Duke, meaning all the great players, the marquee guys we talked about. Laettner, for example, at Duke. But they don't only have Laettner. Bob Hurley has become one of the great creators and all Thomas Edison in college basketball. At St. John's, Malik Sealy. But it's not only Malik Sealy. Jason Buchanan can flat out play on the perimeter. So that's what gets me going. The great, great talent.
Also, a couple of guys that are very special sitting over on the bench directing both clubs.
Well, when you talk about Duke, Mike Krzyzewski, 4 consecutive years to the Final Four, a national championship. St. John's, Luigi Carnesecca, 24th year at St. John's. He's 23 for 23 in postseason. Carnesecca, Krzyzewski, Sealy and Laettner, Franklin and Vitale, Saunders and Valvano. Play ball, baby!
I promise you, he had decaf also. Number 1 and number 7 coming up next from Greensboro.
People of Nike who encourage you to just do it. By your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealers. And by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud.
Nobody here in Greensboro minds that it's 10 minutes of 10. They waited for a time to see this one. Here are the starting lineups. First of all, for St. John's, and a guy to keep an eye on. The big fella in the middle, 6'11". He had a leg injury. The last time they played, that was up in Michigan. He got knocked out of the tournament. And Louis Carnesecca, 700th game at St. John's, maybe 67 years of age, but he doesn't act like it, and he certainly doesn't coach like it. Probably the guy that doesn't get nearly the credit that he should, Davis, number 23, 6'7", Brian, a senior from Capitol Heights, Maryland. And the guy who got his first national championship last year, Mike Krzyzewski. How much pressure is there on his ball club? Well, I had a chance to sit down and ask him that very question.
They need to learn to enjoy the moment all the time. And otherwise, the moment passes and you say, why didn't I enjoy it? I really don't believe there is pressure on us. I'm not trying to deflect it or whatever. I mean, we've won something. you know, there's a lot more pressure on people who haven't won anything.
A lot more pressure on those who haven't won it. How true it is. He has been to the mountaintop and finally got to look over last year.
Changing the starting lineup for St. John's. They're going with the smaller guy, Lamont Middleton, for better matchups instead of Chanel Scott at 6'11".
And one of the reasons is the man who just drove the middle, Grant Hill. Because of the speed and quickness on the wings, I don't think they thought Chanel Scott could handle that. Do you?
Well, Middleton, I agree with you, Ron. I think he's doing it basically for matchup purposes. Middleton scored 30 points in 4 different games at Hartford University before transferring over. He had 13 rebounds in 4 games, so the kid can play.
Bobby Hurley.
He proved to everybody what a flat-out, big-time player. Played 80 minutes in the final 2 games in the NCAA. Look at Wardan.
Wardan with the block, and Thomas Hill takes it right back up for the first 2.
Thomas Hill could be the reason that Billy McCaffrey transferred. Didn't want to battle with him every day in practice. They tell me that Hill would come to practice every day with such intensity. As you know, McCaffrey transferred, went over to Vanderbilt.
Wardan. He pulls up from just out top of the free throw line.
That's what makes him special. He can shoot the long range. Uh-oh! What a pass! What a score! Middleton is shot.
Dickie, do you remember that in the semifinal game against UNLV, that play and it blew it open late?
Great look. There's the diagonal pass. Tremendous legs. Mr. Hill. Grant Hill. Look at that intensity. The young South sensation. I really believe he will be one of the 5 greatest players ever to wear a Duke uniform before he's done. If I had to pick my 5 right now, Art Heyman, Jeff Mullins, Danny Ferry, Johnny Dawkins, Christian Laettner, and I love Dick Grote, but I'm talking about the post from 60 on when Grote played was in the 50s, and we know Dick was a great baseball and basketball player.
So Grant Hill now with 3 points.
Man-to-man pressure defense. They're going with their quick lineup. Cherokee Parks, a guy you'll hear a lot about, will be on the floor. He's on the bench right now, but he'll be a star with Duke.
Jason Buchanan tries to feed it through to Wardan, stolen by Grant Hill. Look at that, Thomas Hill, and he's fouled. That's going to be Sproling who will pick it up. Chucky with his first.
What makes Duke so special is their versatility, their athletic ability with Hill and with Grant Hill and Thomas Hill. We know about Hurley and Laettner as staples and Brian Davis, a good role player. But those 2 guys give them such explosiveness out in transition and on the defensive end.
In fact, it was Chucky Sproling who told me after the shoot-around today that statement that I used in the opening. He said, it is real early, but boy, we're tired of hearing Duke and hearing the fact that they have knocked us out of the tournament 2 years in a row. Atlanta 2 years ago, and last year over the Silver Dome.
Well, Mike Krzyzewski told his kids, he gave them a little lecture yesterday about the fact, don't get into any grudge matches. Grudge matches are for losers. We're winners. We just come out to play some basketball. St. John's had the same attitude. They said, we're not here with any kind of revenge. We just want to come out and win. And if they're going to win, they're going to have to get good shots against the defense that Duke applies.
7-2. Defending national champions have jumped out on top of this one.
What versatility out of Thomas Hill. He can play a big guy. He can play a little guy. But they're switching defensively. Brian Davis right now checking Malik Sealy.
Ball will come to Duke. Laettner was battling for it, as was Wardan.
The thing I liked about Bob Hurley, as I said a little bit earlier, he played 80 minutes for Mike Krzyzewski, 40 minutes each game against UNLV and against Kansas. I thought he should have been the MVP of the Final Four. He was absolutely brilliant. Laettner got the award, but certainly played well.
Brian Davis feeds it off. But a foul on the floor, and it looks as though, as he pointed at Sealy, I guess.
Right now, Duke has really established some momentum. The one thing that happened in the matchup last year, Duke jumped out to a real big run on Louis' club, and they never really allowed him to get back in the game. Buchanan got in foul trouble where Dan was hurt, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Dan came up with that pull or a tear, actually, of the calf muscle. He couldn't move at all.
That's what makes Laettner so special. He can pop out to the perimeter and play like a number 3 man, like a wing player, and he's an excellent passer.
Brian Davis gets the quick first step. Oh, my.
He made some great plays last year at the end of the season. Struggled in the beginning.
Malik Sealy forced that one a little bit, but Dan comes up with it.
Laettner handled the ball between his legs. He can hit this. He can shoot that. He can shoot that, baby.
3 for Laettner, and all of a sudden it's a 12-2 lead.
Playing with such confidence. They know they got the ring. They know they got the trophy. And they got the talent.
Jason Buchanan misses. Sealy tries to get it on the follow, and that is... Well, they're still talking. It'll stay with St. John's.
Good hustle by Wardan. Remember this, Duke lost 9 basketball games last year. A lot of people feel they'll be a better team this year because of the experience of winning, knowing that what winning is all about and feeling winning. And then the addition of Cherokee Parks and a year's experience out of Grant Hill and Thomas Hill. I'll tell you something else that makes this club special. They were hungry in the summer. They didn't rest on their laurels. All of these guys played internationally. You had, for example, Antonio Lang on the bench playing a junior national team. You had Laettner and Thomas Hill and Grant Hill playing in the Pan American Games. Got a world of experience.
Literally.
Yeah, that really went hand in hand. I couldn't say that any better. Thanks, Ron.
Made a big use of
offensive foul.
That's an offensive foul on Wardan.
Wardan came out of Archbishop Malloy. Louis Cornacecca, 23 brilliant years at St. John's.
The Redmen want a timeout, so we'll take it with them. 16:29 left until halftime. In the last 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the scoring run. Mike Krzyzewski, Coach K.
Well, you know, he's big in the Olympic involvement and big in the selection process. I'd like to see the Olympic team right now with Magic having his problems. Let Magic be on the team, work out in the pregame, let the world get a chance to see him, and let the other 2 slots be selected by guys put on air. Isaiah Thomas, Clyde Drexler, forget about college guys. You got 9 pros, go with all the pros instead of a token college kid.
Early for 3, not there.
And I think it would be great to have Magic dress up in a uniform, participate in the warm-ups. We can win with the 11 players in the NBA. Believe me, it would blow out City.
Malik Sealy could not hold on. By the way, the officials in tonight's game, if you say, hey, there's some familiar faces here. Lenny Wirtz is the referee, and the 2 umpires, Bob Donato and Dan Chrisman.
Boy, early in this game, St. John's has really struggled in the first 4 minutes offensively. They look so tentative and intimidated a little bit on the offensive end. Early with a lot more poise and patience. He knows he's accepted now as one of America's premier point guards.
You know, notice something different in this one also as Brian Davis pulls up. Can't get it to go.
Yeah,
we've almost played 5 minutes. In that first game, we'd already had 10 substitutes on each club. Nobody substituted here yet. Grant Hill touches it last.
St. John's relies on such great execution out of their offensive game because Louis Cornacecca doesn't allow them to run up and down the floor. They run a controlled transition game and good offensive execution. If they can't execute their offensive half-court game, they will absolutely struggle.
Malik Sealy still not there for him.
He's got that unique jump shot where he shoots it a la Bernard King, where he shoots it on the way up as opposed to getting to the top of his jump.
You know, we were watching video of him yesterday, and the other interesting thing about him is he is so prepared to shoot many, many times when he takes a pass. He never puts it on the floor. If he takes it straight up and shoots.
He catches turns and shoots the basketball. Laettner with the left hand, a good move inside, and his mama jumps out of her seat. Want to wish her a speedy recovery. I got a beautiful letter from Mrs. Laettner. Lovely lady, had a chance to meet her, and I know she's so proud of Christian. Battling a little illness. Look at Sealy matched up here. Davis wants the challenge. He says, I'm going to play you, big fella.
It's going to be Brian Davis who will pick up the foul.
They tried to isolate him. He has to do a little bit more with his dribble. He has to work on that area of his game. Brian Stitz worked on his game in trying to get a little more maneuverability with the dribble move.
I'm glad that Malik decided to come back for his senior year. I think it's an extremely wise thing for him to do.
Well, I think too many guys try to go out early. Look at Anderson Hunt. That was absolutely a no-no, going out early. Don't even get drafted and being cut when he could have been a star this year at UNLV.
Dick, the last time these two clubs played, that was in the regional last year, the regional finals. 26 turnovers, 17 on steals. First points for Seeley, and it came at the 14-22 mark.
Well, Seeley got free because of the dribble penetration by Buchanan. He made that happen. They're going to try to double up on Laettner, and he'll find the open man. It's like Dunk City, a little dipsy-doo, Dunkaroo. He's explosive, Thomas Hill. His daddy was a hurdler. We'll see his dad down at Oklahoma. He's associate athletic director.
Yep. Thomas is another one that doesn't. He and Davis, neither one, get quite as much pub as the other three.
See, I would take Laettner as my first pick of the NBA. Seeley now goes to the box inside. Just knows how to score. Palatine High School, they were national champs when he played with Adrian Autry of Syracuse and Mr. Brian Reese of North Carolina.
Grant Hill.
Just so easy. Bobby Hurley. What an unbelievable luxury having a legitimate point guard that can break defenses down, get into the gaps, create numbers. Nice screen by Wardan. He has to have that shot. Oliver in the first game for Virginia's got to find it, and Sprouling's got to find it for this club.
You can see Louis up and involved in the game as usual.
I told Louis, I said, Louis, the reason you got to struggle tonight is because you didn't recruit Hurley. That was his second choice, St. John's. I said he liked the kibasi better at Krzyzewski's house than the lasagna at his. And here comes Cherokee Parks. Remember that name, Cherokee Parks. He will be a special Duke player. You know what's great about being a freshman like Parks? A thought just comes to my mind as Laettner goes out. One of the great assets that they have at Duke, Parks comes in, and he doesn't have to be a star, doesn't have to be an impact player. He just can play and learn and have fun. Where in a lot of schools, the freshmen come in immediately, and they have to carry a team. And I think that's a luxury, just like Laettner when he came in and they had Ferry.
Good point. Very good point. Lang in the ballgame also, number 21.
They think he's going to be special this year. Long arms, athlete, great quickness. This guy could be a point guard. He'll be an NBA point guard in the 33.
Seeley loses it. Here comes Hurley. One-on-one.
Oh, what a play! What a Florida basket! Florida basket! What a play by Hurley! They're jumping with jubilation in the Hurley household in Jersey City. His daddy says, I taught him that. Watch this change. Watch around the back. A la Bob Cousy. There he goes around the back. A la the Magic Man. Lays it on the glass with the left hand. Count it. Goaltending.
Shawnell Scott in the ballgame, and Shawnell will pick up the offensive foul.
What an impressive, absolutely impressive 6 minutes by Duke. Unbelievable.
I'll tell you what, the other kid that I had to do a double take at today is Shawnell Scott. Now, he still weighs 250 pounds, but he has transferred some of that weight. And you can tell that he's been working with the weights and working out.
And he's got to get tougher physically. He's got a pretty good touch. He's tough in the box, down inside, but he's got to get a little bit tougher physically.
Grant Hill loses the ball.
Grant Hill comes from a high school out of Virginia that they have a tremendous junior. Remember this name, I'm going to tell you, Joey Beard, about 6'9". Everybody in America wants him, and it looks like it'll be either Duke or Virginia. And I'll tell you what, Duke will be tough to beat with his buddy Grant playing at Duke because the kid is an honor student as well.
Turnovers so far, St. John's 5, Duke with 2.
Oh, nice screen.
Seeley.
Good execution. He gets Seeley free. Look at Hurley. His head's up all the time. Has great vision of the floor. Oh, what a pass.
Cherokee Parks blows the short jumper. Foul against Parks.
Parks from out of California. He broke the heart of Jimmy Herrick when he said, I'm going out to the South and I'm not staying home. He really wanted him badly down at UCLA. They got some great juniors this year, though, in high school in terms of big people in the state of California, and I know Jimmy's going to be after them. Tremendous.
Look at the bench over there. Laettner coaching with Parks as he came down the floor, hollering something to him, some instruction.
That's the whole Duke attitude. We play as a team, we win as a team, we lose as a team.
Jordan with the pump fake. He got Lang up in the air, and the foul will be on him.
Should have taken that right to the goal a little quicker. You know, I mentioned the Duke kids and how hungry they were over the summer rather than just resting on their laurels and going to the beach. These guys are playing some hoops. I mean, you got Laettner, as I said earlier, and Hill and Grant Hill and Thomas playing with the Pan Am team for Gene Cady, and Bob Hurley playing for P.J. Carlesimo in the World University Games where they won the gold medal. You had Antonio Lang, and along with Parks playing for the junior national team of Lonnie Kruger. You have Brian Davis with Jack Powers and Frankie McLaughlin coaching them in the NIT All-Stars. I mean, they got such international competition. Hold me back, Ron. I got so much information I want to pour out here about this team.
Well, we'll catch our breath as we take a timeout here. 11:48 left until halftime. Duke by 12.
Years, I think people have realized more how hard and how intense I do play and how physical. So they stopped putting that rap on me about a finesse player. In some ways, it's a compliment because I'm not the banger type, you know, the power player. I might be a little more smooth and athletic than people are used to seeing from someone 6'11".
Well, here's how they've been with him: 91-24 in their NCAA record, 15-2, 3 Final Fours with him.
I think he's the premier senior in America. I don't think it's even close anymore. Alonzo certainly can give him a running because Alonzo's so tough inside. But those two guys really are head and shoulder over everyone else, I think, in that senior class in terms of their future.
Clark,
what a nice run. Hello! CP, and Laettner says, that's my buddy. That's my pupil. Mr. Cherokee Parks. It won't be long before both of them will be playing together on the floor.
And you can see Laettner again with instruction and support for him as he came down the floor.
What about the pass by Marty Clark, who's really been an outstanding player in their preseason, has earned some time in their rotation, their 9-man rotation.
And Clark has been impressive. Lenny Wirtz calls the foul on Davis, his second.
And the beat goes on and on. Next year they get a tremendous shooter by the name of Collins. Yes, if the name is familiar, his dad, Doug, outstanding player himself in his own right, doing a great job as an analyst. Doug Collins' son, Chris Collins, has the backdoor couple. Look at the help defensively. Did you see Parks rotate over and give help?
Sprawling comes over and thanks David Kane. That was a great pass that he fed him as he headed along the baseline, but he couldn't get through the 2 defenders.
Chris Collins will give him that perimeter shooter when he comes here. Oh, Parks, I'll tell you, that is something special.
Now with Parks and Laettner both on the floor, what does that give him? What kind of combination?
I'll tell you one thing. You talk about trying to match up. So difficult, especially look at that play right there. That was created by Mr. Laettner. What size? It gives him size, talent.
David Kane drives the lane.
Kane from out of Adelaide Stevenson. He's got great quickness, can be a little flashy, as you see the acrobatic drive right there.
He gives Louis that another dimension off the bench as well.
Well, he gives him a lot of speed at that point guard slot. Sprouling's the guy that's got to give him some points. He was a great scorer in high school. That was a walk. Save that for next year. You get away with that next year. Good call. Next year they allow that. They don't allow that in this league.
Still a 12-point game. Duke on top, and we're about to hit the midway point of his first half.
I don't like Laettner. I'm going to be very honest. I have to lay something right on you right now. Let the nation know this because I have to be very objective. There's a lot I don't like about him. Number one, I don't like it that he was given everything. Good looks, ability, intelligence, and the good Lord didn't give me any of that. That's unfair. He's given it all.
But he can't talk like you do.
He talks better than I do. He speaks English. I can't speak English.
Little Louis.
He had such praise that I was teasing Mike. I said, Mike, after I got done talking to Louis Quinteseca, I thought that he was playing against the Chicago Bulls tonight, not Duke. Scored that basket.
Louis is a lot of fun to visit with. It's a shoot-around. And, of course, one of his right-hand guys Al is alongside Fred. In fact, you coached against him, didn't you?
I'll tell you what, he's just a great guy. You know, Parks gives him another dimension. When you look at Duke, they haven't really had a shot blocker in the lane because Laettner's not what you would call a tremendous shot blocker, but he gives him that dimension. Ricky was a shot blocker. Robert Ricky had great legs and blocked some shots in the lane, but he wasn't the size of this guy. 6'11". Something always gets you fired up when you see the Duke Blue Devils, you know, especially you go to their great arena. I have to say this, the ACC to me, and no one knows better than Jim sitting in the studio with John, but the ACC has the best basketball environment in all of college basketball. In terms of the excitement, the publicity, notoriety, you don't have to share all the wealth with all the pro teams like other towns do and other leagues. And I just think it's just one unbelievable place if you like the game of basketball.
Shawnell Scott picked up that foul, Dick, and we are at 1-1 already as we have 9:57 left until halftime.
Great rotation. They shoot free throws very well. But I don't see them as a heavyweight knockout invincible like I looked at Vegas last year. And then Vegas had that one bad moment and that slip. I really don't see the kind of athletic ability from top to bottom like you've seen in that Vegas team. I mean, this team is certainly going to be beatable on a given night. They're not going to go undefeated. I'll guarantee you that.
Lee Green with the errant pass, stolen, and the no-look pass to Parks. Can't get it to go, and this one, the high percentage shot.
Everything he does is Dunk City. It's Dunk City. Look at Laettner screaming at him. He's giving him another way to be intense. Well, some Chief Parks. He said, come on, Chief. Look at him step out. He's even learned how to hedge. You see him hedge there for a big guy? Wow.
Mike said that he likes the knowledge of post defense that he brings in as a freshman.
Mike Krzyzewski, you talked about a great story. Here's a guy that gets the job at Duke after his last year having a losing record at West Point. Learned so much under the master, under the general, when he played for Bobby Knight at West Point, coached under Bobby Knight, then he coached at West Point. He was a member of their staff when he had those great teams at Indiana.
Thomas Hill working against Jason Buchanan.
They run their motion game, screening for one another, emptying out, getting good spacing, all the elements of a good offensive club. And they try to ISO and use the dribble penetration. See, there it is, the dribble penetration, making things happen. Thank you.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, I named the 5 best ever I had at Duke in terms of thinking about Mullins and Heyman and Ferry and certainly about Johnny Dawkins and Laettner, but this guy's going to move one of those 5 out of there before it's done. Always giving help. Notice the help defensively.
Malik Sealy gets the shooter's roll.
Just knows how to score, and he can really run the break. He's like a greyhound in transition. He can run the court. It's a real thoroughbred, Malik Sealy. And on top of that, very bright, intelligent, good, solid citizen.
Yeah, he is. He's a good kid.
Classy kid. St. John's plays solid man-to-man defense as well. Having a tough time handling Laettner inside. Not a good shot right there by Christian.
I think he was trying to pick up the foul.
Yeah, we won't show that. I promise, Christian. We won't tell you that was a bad shot.
Time out on the floor, 7:50 left until halftime. Duke by 14.
Yeah. Ron, we're going to watch one of the components of their game. Spacing and dribble penetration. Watch the great spacing right here. Freeze it. See, notice how they're all 15 to 17 feet apart from one another. Now, here goes the dribble penetration. They empty out. You see how they empty out and clear? And he draws 3 people. And then he has the great one-on-one ability to convert and to score. Mike Krzyzewski creates that. But what also helps it is by having guys that can finalize and have that kind of one-on-one ability. And that's what he possesses now at Duke. Bottom line, he has talent.
Oh, nice play, Sprawling.
Good.
He comes along the baseline. Excellent give.
He came out of high school in Denver, and he was really so highly acclaimed as a scorer. Played well in the NCAA tournament against Ohio State and Texas, and they won big because he gave them some productivity out of the second guard slot.
28-16 with 7:23 left until halftime. That's the second foul on Malik.
Well, you know what makes Duke so special is that they can hurt you in a variety of ways. They can hurt you with dribble penetration. They can hurt you with inside game, with Laettner. They can hurt you in transition, and then they hurt you on a defensive end. And when you're going to play like that, you're always going to put yourself in a position to get a W. I can't think of a coaching job in America that fits any better than Mike Krzyzewski and Duke University. They just are made for one another. That's a perfect marriage. He represents all the things they want, and they have all the things he wants. Mike, in some other situations, would not be as successful as he is at Duke. They provide him the avenue to do the things that he likes to do and get the kind of people that he wants.
Sprawling with the bounce pass, going to be knocked out of bounds off of St. John's. It'll go back to Duke. Well, ESPN's coverage of NCAA basketball continues. 12:30 Nebraska at Creighton, then 7:30 Missouri at Arkansas. At 9:30 Dick and I will be in Tucson. LSU at Arizona, and then at midnight we're still not done. Arizona State against New Mexico. All four this Saturday right here on ESPN.
I can't wait to get down to Tucson. They got 64 in a row. I was there when they beat Duke in an unbelievable game where Duke had them on the ropes. Lute's got Lute Mania going bananas down there at Tucson.
Thomas Hill misses, but Davis comes up with the long carob.
Oh, nice triangle.
Great feed, and Laettner misses the layup.
They just cut so well without the basketball. Movement without the ball is so essential to a good team.
Cannon off on that one.
They really can all pass the basketball as well. Look at Pearlie. He wants to make the pass. He's looking. He's thinking. Nobody's cutting. I'm going to take it right to the goal.
They're going to call that on Grant Hill. Offensive foul.
Look at Bob. Last year now, he would have made a face. He would have made my old Bill Lambier crybaby team along with Don McLean. But this is a new year now, and he knows he's a star. He knows he doesn't have to prove anything to anyone. He knows right now that he is one of the premier point guards along with Walt Williams, Lee Mayberry.
About to go under 6 minutes, as you could see, until halftime.
Malik shows that he's improved his range as a shooter.
9 points for him now, and it's back to 11 points. Good defensive stop right here, and the Johnnies could take it back into single digits.
St. John's has done a good job in slowing the tempo down a little bit, controlling tempo. Hornacek is a master at controlling tempo. He's like an orchestra leader on the sideline. Little Toscanini. Can't shoot jump shots, Toscanini, can he? Does he shoot jump shots, Ron?
Hurley's jumper is not there, where Dan comes down with it, and that is a foul against Grant Hill.
Where Dan played at Archbishop Malloy under Jack Curran, one of the great high school coaches in New York City, and his teammate was a guy by the name of Kenny Anderson. Not a bad high school combination. Anderson and Werdan as Cherokee Parks comes in for Grant Hill.
Grant has just picked up his second foul, so he'll break for a moment.
I'll tell you, Werdan was telling me stories today about his senior class in high school when he played in the All-Star games, playing with Sean Kemp, playing with Alonzo Mourning, Christian Laettner, Stanley Roberts. He's now in the NBA. A real all-wide body.
Sealy.
Offensive rebounder, Malik Sealy almost went to Syracuse. Jimmy Boeheim, you almost had him, he told me.
Middleton and Foster almost prevented him from going back up, his own teammates.
Foster gives him a big, strong guy in the lane. Oh, what a great pass to the right hand. He led the hand perfectly. Loves to make the pass. His brother Danny now playing at Seton Hall. Watch this right now. He's going to throw it right to the proper hand. And there's the rotation to the basket. Parks, by all Thomas Edisons, I'm going to lay on you. Mayberry, Hurley, Williams, Adonis Jordan, and Sean Miller. Creators and innovators. Personally, I think that Arkansas, when they get all their players, Roosevelt Wallace is back now. They get Todd Day. When Nolan Richardson gets his full club by the end of the year, there's going to be one dynamite basketball team.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Isaiah Morris has become a big-time player. I was listening to John Saunders and Billy Raftery down in Maui, and he really was impressive. But they played with a short deck. They didn't have They didn't have Wallace, they didn't have Day, and they didn't have a conditioned Oliver Miller who's got to get away from the table and get himself in shape.
Buchanan got Hurley hung up in the air that time. St. John's shooting 3 of their first 12, but since then they're 6 of 9, so that 66% in the few recent moments has brought them back into this game.
Well, perfect shot selection, execution. That's a trademark of Luigi. Getting that good trademark offense, which is the high percentage shot. Started his career at St. Anne's high school as a coach. He was a baseball coach. In fact, he told me when he was a baseball coach, he had a guy by the name of Homo played for him, the governor. He's a pretty good baseball player. And Louis was a 4-year player when he played. He was a utility player, hit a little better than 300. And his coach was Frank McGuire in baseball. Boy, all these goodies I'm laying on you, huh? You're looking at me saying, Dick, you're wacky coming out with all this.
10-point ball game with 4:32 left until halftime. Buchanan's going to be called for getting more than the basketball.
Well, he's crying.
That's a big play right there.
Yeah, he's crying at Anamona, but as soon as that left hand went in there, automatically the whistle's going to be blown. Now watch this right now. Here comes the dribble penetration. Now here comes the reach around. No, he's got the hand on him. He's checking up from the back. As soon as you slap down with that right hand, automatically. Look at Louis. Louis says, I don't like it. He's talking some nice Italian. And sitting right behind him is Brian Mahoney. He's blocking Brian's view. My opinion, when Louis steps down, the job should go to Brian Mahoney. He's been a loyal assistant. He's worked in the trenches. And my feeling is when a program is super successful, there is Mahoney right there. You give the assistant a shot. If the program hasn't been winning, then you go elsewhere. But, I mean, why should a guy be so loyal and such a hard worker? And I know one thing, Louis Quaneseca would want him to be the guy that would step in. Even though Louis is going to coach for another decade.
Hurley gets that next one to go down as well. Duke now 9 of 10 at the free throw line, 90%.
That's what great teams do. You see it in football. Teams that really, all the special situations, they win. Nice backdoor cut.
Count it, and he'll go to the line. That's going to be on Laettner.
He's going to be an outstanding NBA player in transition, Malik Sealy. Good backdoor cut. Played for John Sarandria in high school, is now an assistant, second lieutenant for Paul Evans. There's the backdoor cut, and then he protects the ball. He knows they're going to rotate over and give help, and then he smiles. He says, count it, and I'm getting closer and closer to you, Chris Mullen. I'm getting closer to the all-time record at St. John's.
I beg your pardon, it was Parks rather than Laettner that foul was called.
Yeah, Parks tried to rotate over, was a step a little slow, rotating to give some help. Hey, they're back in the game, baby.
8-point game.
They've shut down the running game, controlling tempo. Duke hasn't been able to get up and down the floor like they did the first 4 minutes. Well, Duke's such a great spurt team. You got to be careful of the spurt. This is the tempo Louis likes. Let the other club use clock. Slow the pace down. Play good one-on-one defense, which they didn't do there. See, that's where Duke beats you. With the dribble penetration by Hurley, and then as soon as you rotate over to close off his drive, he immediately finds the open man. The recognition and being in the right spots at the right time.
That is 3 fouls on Sealy. Now the decision that Louis has to make.
Well, that is big, getting 3 on their offensive guy on a baseline. Wow, look at Laettner against the big people, and these are great big people. Check those numbers out. He has always been the winner. I mean, head-to-head, especially. Look at the first 3 guys. I mean, those are 3 big-time players, Mourning, O'Neal, and Miller. I mean, I keep talking about Laettner number 1. I mean, he slides down to number 2 if a guy by the name of Shaquille says, I'm going to leave school. But I really think that it's great that Shaquille O'Neal has put his priorities in order and has education number 1 and is really patient to wait for the dollars which will be there later on.
Laettner knocks it down, so we'll take a break. 10-point game again. Under 4 minutes to play until halftime, and in case you joined us late, it was Virginia in a surprise, winning in overtime by 10 in the opening game tonight over Georgetown. And if you just joined us on this one, Malik Sealy, the star for St. John's, on the bench with 3 fouls. His club trails by 10. It 14 points, and nobody else has really contributed that much.
Middleton can score now. He scored 30 points. I said fourth. There he is. He walked, though. Got a little intimidated, and he walked. But he scored 30 points on 4 occasions for Hartford.
That's 9 turnovers now for St. John's in this first half.
They had 24 turnovers in that last meeting.
26, I believe, and 17 of them were steals by Duke.
You're right, it was 26. They took them and converted them on the other end and blew the game out early.
They sure did. And, of course, Verdun coming up with the muscle tear in that one didn't help anything because inside they lost their potency.
And they lost Buchanan early in foul trouble. They're going to try to get the ball to Laettner.
Early. He gets hammered in the middle as Foster comes up for the block. Bobby just disappeared as he went through the lane.
Hey, since he's been the quarterback at Duke, there was 66 and I believe 16 in his first 2 years. Unbelievable winner. There's a dump down. Good look to Laettner. Moves so well without the basketball. Toughest guy to defend is a guy that is in motion.
Ron Franklin and Dick Vitale from Greensboro, North Carolina. And hope you're enjoying this, the final meeting of the ACC-Big East Challenge.
Real danger time when Sealy went to the bench. They were only down 8. Well, he puts a lot of pressure on the defense the way he blows the ball up the court.
It's going to be David Kane who picks up the foul.
North Carolina had that great win as Sealy sits on a bench blowing out Seton Hall yesterday by 29. Michelangelo. I mean, he's like Jerry Tarkanian. Year in and year out, you know those guys can flat out coach. Tarkanian blows out LSU. In fact, some early observations, Ron, right now, looking at the season. To me, the SEC is Mike and Louis working the sideline. The SEC's been a little overrated out of the gate. Kentucky gets beat at home by Pittsburgh. You had Vanderbilt losing to Northwestern. Arkansas losing in the Maui Classic, but we'll give them the benefit of the doubt they weren't with a full cast. You had LSU getting blown out. Alabama, Wim Sanderson doing a great job. Also, another early observation, John Barry and David Johnson of Syracuse are the 2 most improved players I have seen in terms of coming back from last year. Unbelievable.
Kane against Hurley. Nice move, but he can't get it to go. And that's Lang, who comes from nowhere to pull off the rebound.
Well, he's got great athletic ability, long arms. Lang was valedictorian in high school. He'll shake and bake. He wants some playing time. So he might be trying a little too hard. Great hustle on the floor by Laettner.
Lang missed the first 3 games because of an ankle injury. It doesn't appear to be affecting him tonight, though, as Laettner goes up strong against Foster.
Knows how to draw the contact. Christian Laettner. He's had so much basketball experience playing in all those Goodwill games, World games, Pan Am games. I mean, the experience he's had has been incredible. And every practice session at Duke is really like a workout. The intensity is incredible.
Grant Hill comes out as they put him on the bench with 2 fouls and just over 2 minutes to play until halftime.
What great stock he comes from. His mom went out to Wellesley. His dad is a Yale grad, former star with the Dallas Cowboys. Calvin Hill now working in baseball, administrator with the Baltimore Orioles. And his mom works in Faye Vincent's office, the commissioner's office.
I asked him yesterday where he would rather play, inside or out. He said it really doesn't matter because some scouts say even at 6'8", they think that that he could be a point even.
Well, what makes Duke so special is interchangeability. They can change their players, and there's so many parts on a floor. St. John's going to try and run a 2-3 foul line extended offense a la Oklahoma State, trying to create situations where Duke can't get a whole lot of help. When I spoke to Louis earlier in the week, he was working on film. He says, you call about Duke. He says, you call about Duke. I'm looking at film, and all I'm looking at is one great player after another. I mean, he's looking at film, trying to break them down.
Without Sealy, since he has gone to the bench, picking up that 3rd foul, St. John's has been outscored 8-0.
You know, Louis has been nominated for the Hall of Fame, one of 16 people. I hope he gets in there because he's just been an amazing success story. But more than that, he's been such an ambassador of goodwill for the game internationally as well. Over in Spain, they love him. Over in Italy, he puts on clinics.
Well, this is the first opportunity to look at Meek and the crowd, the partisans from Duke react to that. Eric is 6'10", a freshman from Escondido, California.
He had a tough time this summer. He was jogging and got hit by a car and caused a serious injury. And they didn't think he'd be able to play, but he's really worked so hard. It was a thigh that was severely damaged. They seem to love playing with each other, too. And I guess winning, winning promotes that. The more you win, the more togetherness there is. But it's in adversity you find out what people are about. And Mike Krzyzewski last year, when they got blown out or beaten severely by Virginia, he brought the team back and he made them practice. And that's when Lang caught Hill in the nose with an elbow and he broke his nose. And I'll tell you, from that point on, this club went out and just beat on people.
Robert Wardan picked up that foul. It's his second.
I love the way Laettner steps to that line, and a great rotation, great touch. What a solid NBA player he's going to become.
Of 10 for Laettner at the free throw line.
See, there's the 2-3 setup. 2-3 setup. They try and clear out. They really hurt offensively on that baseline without Sealy, don't they, Ron?
No doubt about it. And in fact, with the run that continues right here, with 1:34 left until halftime, unless St. John's gets some offense going, you're going to be surprised at what the numbers are, but it's going to be in double figures to almost nil.
Almost surprised that Louis waited so long to bring him in, even though he's got 3 fouls. I thought John Thompson made a great decision in that game to bring Mourning back when he had the foul problems there in the second half. When Virginia started to play well, he stopped their momentum by bringing him in.
Laettner's shot won't go. Shawnell Scott comes away with it.
But you're hoping here somehow you can hit a deuce or two to get it to about 11 or 12.
Shawnell Scott, 18 feet away.
Shawnell Scott steps deep and shoots the jumper.
He had a little toothache this morning, he said, at the shoot-around, but he's okay and going for it tonight.
Mike getting some playing time from Meek. 2 big guys on the floor now, Laettner and Meek.
Green knocked the ball out of bounds.
Green, good defensive play. Look at his hairdo. Look at his hairdo. He said, you know who gave me that hairdo? He said, I'll tell you who. Darryl Strawberry's barber in the Brooklyn area. Darryl Strawberry. I tell you, he was on vacation the first half of the season. He's been ripping Cal Daniels, and now he's got some help with Eric Davis. Andy Oddie, too, is a pitcher coming in. Tommy Lasorda's got some horses now.
Coming up at halftime, this is what we're going to be seeing. Highlights from Louisville, Notre Dame. Also more on the Conrad McRae story. All with John Saunders and Jimmy B. Mr. Saunders and Dalmano at halftime. And they're about 33 seconds away.
I'll tell you, the Conrad McRae situation is certainly going to hurt that Syracuse program in terms of size inside. They had that big win over Florida State. Played so well. Lawrence Moulton, the freshman that doesn't get a lot of publicity, but really looked impressive. Another good freshman doesn't get a lot of publicity is down at Temple. Brunson, outstanding guard, Rick Brunson. Rowe from down in Massachusetts. Calipari wins that Alaska shootout, then's going to travel from Alaska to play Patino in Kentucky. You talk about a tough trip.
12 for Christian Laettner at the line.
He started out in a 2-3, foul line extended. You know, you take one player out of a lineup. Look at Laettner. He's coaching, he's screaming and yelling. Billy Singleton was such an inspirational player for this club last year, as Sealy is sitting on the sideline in foul trouble. The same with Kentucky, losing a Reggie Hansen. When you lose those kind of players, Seton Hall and Anthony Event, when you lose those people, you really, when you look at the box score coming back, you got 4 people back. But losing one quality guy can really, really hurt. Come on, get some life, Robert. Get some life, Robert.
Well, as Robert sits there, of course, Chucky Sprawling is also on the bench, but since Sealy went out, and that was at the 3:51 mark, Duke has outscored St. John's 12-3.
And I was so excited. I was writing my notes down, and I couldn't wait when I got this assignment. And all we're seeing right now is a yawner. 17, baby.
What do do you do if you're St. John's in the second half then?
Well, first of all, you got to play Sealy right away, number one. Number two, you got to have to try to extend the court, play a little bit more pressure defense, and that's almost a no-no against the kind of talent that they have. But you can't just sit back and allow them to just keep building and mounting the lead. Doesn't matter if you get beat by 25, but at least give yourself a chance to win. Oh, he got belted right there. Blow the whistle.
Lee from behind. And now Louis is up and he's hot.
You better watch out and get hit with a T right here, too, and mount to the problems. Look at Lee with that hairdo. I mean, he's got numbers all over. Played in prep school out of Connecticut. Good defensive player. Louis said, what am I going to do without basketball? I can't give it up. He said, it's my life. That's all I know. I have no other hobbies. I eat it. I sleep it. I drink it. I love it. And you got to love anybody that has a passion for what they're doing. To me, I've always defined success as the ability to do something you love and to be able to make a living doing what you love. One work and one in life. You know, naturally we say you got to have health and you got to have the health that comes with it. That's an automatic given that you seek and want.
18-point game. Just over 4 seconds left until halftime. Buchanan gets away the three.
Well, partner, it's been all Duke right out of the outset from the moment it started. And there's the cheerleader, the ringleader. And there's a guy in foul trouble, Mr. Sealy. And there's the star.
So they head to the locker room. The Duke Blue Devils, the #1 ranked team in the nation, 48. St. John's 30.
Get picked. He's a little bit behind right there. You know he's going to get beat to the baseline. But look at the Dukies. All of them starting to turn already, and they're all going to get in there because once he turns the corner, look, no place to go. Now what's going to happen? 1, 2, 3. We have 4 guys in the paint. And when they're all in the paint like that, they help out so much, you get another turnover. And I'm telling you, even if their offense isn't working, Duke, and sometimes they do have a lull, John, their defense is always there. They haven't even started slapping the floor yet. You know, when they're really going after it, that's when they all start slapping the floor. They may not have to slap the floor tonight.
Yeah, St. John's had about 2 points in the first 6 minutes of the game. It's tough to catch up when you're that far behind. Right now, it's an 18-point lead. We'll continue with more halftime in just a moment. But first, some more scores from around the nation. Cal State Fullerton down 1 at Eastern Illinois.
Big East Conference. 10 schools in pursuit of athletic and academic excellence.
Duke leading St. John's 48-30 in the second half still to come. But first, let's check the scoreboard and some highlights elsewhere. Their team is down by 18.
North Carolina, and their specialty plays. They're young, and those always work. When I say specialty, watch this. Here is Danny Hurley, the freshman, and there's Phelps. Now watch this. When you see Reese come across, in Carolina, whenever they have a man go from the low blocks to the corner, you're looking at a back door. Remember that. Low block to the corner. Here comes Reese across. Phelps passing. Here comes a Carolina specialty. Reverse the ball. You see where he is down there? It's ready. Hurley's, look where his eyes. His eyes not. We're going to get him. They're going to get him. The rookie is going to get back door, and I saw this. Ready? Bip. Pass. Layup. No bounce. That's beautiful. That's only one. Carolina will do it many ways. Added their motion offense again. Watch number 5, Rodel. He's going to do another thing. And take a look over here. The Seton Hall player, right? When they reverse the ball, get a back pick. Seton Hall players, right there. Look where his eyes are. The eyes front. Got to have eyes behind your head when you're going to play the heels. Pick. Once again, no bounce, no dribbles. Beautiful. When you play Carolina, right, you've got to be ready for out-of-bounds plays, traps. I'm very impressed with them. Also impressed with Syracuse, Dave Johnson, shooting the outside shot.
Yeah, 7 3-pointers for Dave Johnson. There'll be more to come here on the ACC-Big East Challenge. The second half is straight ahead. Can St. John's make a comeback against Duke? Down by 18 at halftime. We'll find out in just a moment.
Basketball is brought to you by Hyundai. Yes, Hyundai. Makers of the Excel, Scoop, Sonata, and the brand new Elantra. And by Bud Dry. Dry brewed so it drinks light yet satisfies completely.
We're at halftime here in Greensboro, 48-30. The Duke Blue Devils, the top-ranked team in the nation, leading over St. John's. And Dick, two things stick out at me when I look at these first-half stats. Christian Laettner, 12 of 12 from the free throw line. He has 19 points. Duke, 21 of 22 at the line. There is a goodly part of the story.
Well, it's part of the special teams we talk about. The ability to make your free throws count. Execution, the offensive execution, the defense. They guard you. They get in your face. They play offensively. They bounce pass. They do it all. They are flat out. I absolutely love the Duke style of play. I like everything about Mike Krzyzewski. I'll tell you this. He is just quality. His team is quality. And now they're up 18. The problem for St. John's.
What do you do if you're the Red Men?
Well, you start to think maybe about the fact that really this guy here, if he gets the fourth, it's all over. I mean, he had a great first half with 14 points and 3 rebounds in the time he played, and he is their offensive spark plug. They got to find some other offensive productivity. Somebody's got to contribute. Where Dan is too talented not to put more points on a board. Got to shoot the ball. He was a known shooter coming out of high school. He can score, and Laettner was absolutely sensational. 19 points, 12 for 12 on a free throw line, and plus was such an intense leader on the floor.
Where Dan finished with a total of 4 points, he was 1 of 4 in the first half. Called, and here are the first half stats. Duke 48%, St. John's 41. The rebounding actually not that much of a miss. Number 10 by the Red Men, and look at the points of the paint. 24.
3-to-1 ratio. I mean, 24 to 8 in that lane. A lot of that created with that dribble penetration and the isolation and spreading the court that we talked about.
We're down with the block there, Christian Laettner, and Buchanan knocks it down.
Buchanan with a little dribble, shoots the ball at the free throw line. They got to put the ball up a little quicker now. They can't play in that patient mode that they normally play. They got to pick up the tempo, and that should favor Duke. Let's see them push it. Let's see if they run with it a little bit more. There they are. They're going to run a little more.
Good job by Thomas Hill to knock it away. That, by the way, as far as Buchanan, his first from the floor tonight. Everything else had been from the free throw line.
You know, he's been an unbelievable, when you talk about a player who's been up and down in his career. His freshman year, he struggled. Sophomore year, he backed up Boo Harvey. His third year, he became really a solid, big-time player. Led to his Big Eastern assists. 5 a game. Malik Sealy. He's
16
got
for him.
Bernard King kind of shot. This is what St. John's needs. A game of basketball, the management of a game. The game itself is broken down into 4 phases. You got the first 4 minutes where you try to establish yourself, 4 minutes before the half, and then the 4 minutes after the half.
That basket right there by Hill breaks a string. The last 12 Duke points had come from the free throw line.
And the 4th phase is the winning time, the last 4 minutes. These 4 minutes will make or break St. John's if they're going to get back in the game. Look at this guy handle it right. He wants it back. He wants it back. Hurley says, no, Hill, I'm going the other way with it.
Ron Franklin along with Dick Vitale. We're in Greensboro, North Carolina, and this is the concluding game of the ACC-Big East Challenge. Hope you're enjoying it tonight. Earlier this evening, Georgetown fell to Virginia in overtime by 10 points. In this one right here, 18-17 left to play in this second half, and Duke, the top-ranked team in the nation, up by 16.
A little dump down, great vision, good presence, stays up in the air.
Brian Davis now with 4 points.
I talked to Eddie Sutton. He loves Bobby Hurley. He's got a quarterback in his own right there, and his son Sean, who's become such a solid player.
Grant Hill with the
Watch him handle the rock, baby. Look at him handle the rock. There they go. Here comes the spur. Here comes blowout, baby.
Jason Buchanan. And that will be an offensive foul against Buchanan.
You really are in a bind if you're Louis Carnesecca. You know that really you're not a club that can run up and down the floor. He gets a TO. He knows he doesn't have that club, but he really doesn't have much of a choice.
I'm going to do a lot of things out there, and really it doesn't matter where I play.
I think, because our quickness, it creates difficult matchups. Usually I'm checking the second big man, and he has to check me, so it's easier for me to relieve some pressure off of Bobby bringing the ball up the court.
Grant Hill.
He almost went to North Carolina. That was initially his first choice, and then he went down to Duke. He met with Mike Krzyzewski, saw the people there, and said, no, I'm going to become a Duke Blue Devil. Oh, yes! Oh, yes! He's awesome, baby, with a capital A! He's one of the great swingmen in college basketball and will be one of the greats of all time in a Duke uniform. Grant Hill. Woo!
Hurley almost makes the steal. This is Seeley, dishes to the corner, and Sproling knocks it down.
Chucky Sproling's got to look at the basket and shoot that rock a little more. What an isolation for Grant Hill. What a talent. Oh, here goes Duke starting at a little 1-4. Foul lane extended. Going to run a high post screen.
Thomas Hill. Oh, my goodness.
What an explosive move right there. His dad was the head coach in track down at West Point when Mike was coaching down at West Point, so he drew a relationship with him. And really, when he came to Duke, he wasn't as heralded as McCafferty and as heralded certainly as Hurley, but he has become such a solid player. Thomas Hill, no relation to Grant.
And foul is going to be on Grant. And the lob pass inside was to Malik Seeley.
Seeley certainly has played well. He just hasn't had enough help from his friends.
He's not going to give him a shot.
What a whack.
It looked as though, lob pass, that's what he was about to do, but they're not going to send him to the line.
Oh, they wanted the lob right there to Seeley. That was the first option. Oh, look at these guys out in the break. Look at the trailers. Look at the trailers. I mean, they're going to have Cameron Indoor Stadium rocking like you can't believe. That place will be showtime, pizzazz time, rock and roll time. They're going to be such an exciting team. You talk about athleticism. Watch these four guys in a break. Look at them firing out. Here they go. Look at Hurley. Oh, wow.
You could see the glance there for just a moment. Let me tell you, Mike allowed us into their part of their meeting yesterday down at the field house, and one of the things he talked about was not only motivation and what they were doing for the season. He talked about situations where getting caught up and staring and arguing situations, and he said, we turn and we go away from it. And he said, nobody leaves the bench. He said, don't worry about an official to give you a technical foul. He said, I will suspend you from the club. Nobody leaves our bench if we have any kind of matter happen on the floor.
Well, he knows the rule. The penalties are heavy for being involved in fighting. One game suspension on a first. Second game, you can be suspended for the season. They're into a trap defensively. Nice break. Look at that defense by Laettner. Are you serious, folks? We are witnessing an unbelievable performance in every area of the game. No, if he hits that, I was ready to jump out of my seat.
I know you were. Brian Davis is called for the foul. That's only the second team foul, but it's the third foul on Davis.
They are so talented and are so confident. They got an air of cockiness, but in a very positive way. Laettner comes out. Lamont Middleton says, when I was at Hartford, nobody used to get a piece of it. And you know what made that special? That he used his left hand. If he uses his right hand, he makes contact with the body. All the great shot blockers use their left hand because most people shoot with their right hand. You think of David Robinson and the greatest of all time, Bill Russell.
Hurley. Buchanan will pick up the foul there.
Bob Hurley's just playing basketball. You don't see the moaning and the groaning. He's just playing basketball. This guy was one heck of a point guard coming out of Chicago, played at West Point. Hurley really worked on trying to finalize. He said, all summer I worked on finalizing, trying to complete my drive. He's had such great coaching playing for his dad. You can't believe it. I know his dad well, and I'm going to tell you something, Ron. That guy can coach on any college level. You talk about a guy that's a tremendous teacher and a motivator. His dad is that kind of person. And then to put him with Mike Krzyzewski, the kid's had phenomenal coaching throughout his career.
Yesterday in an interview that we were doing, I asked him about that. He said there were a lot of similarities between his father and Mike. By the way, it's 4 fouls on Jason Buchanan, so he has to go to the bench, and David Kane, number 11, comes back in for St. John's.
Tommy Amica's record, the fine point guard, now an assistant of 708 assists, is going to be history because Hurley is going to pass that record. There's another one. He had 588 coming into this season.
64-37.
Boy, do they make their defense. Look, Grant Hill at the point of the pressure. You got those long arms, the quickness, the trap. There's the charge. St. John's is being humiliated and being absolutely embarrassed by this Duke team here today. There's the steal. Here comes Hurley. There's the great look. And there's the conversion. And here comes the pressure. Grant Hill. And there's Tommy Amica. This guy's going to be a heck of an assistant coach. Sitting next to him is one of the real important people to this program, Peter Gadet, former head coach at West Point, who does all their scouting, prepares, and gets them. Look at them look for one another. Are you serious? I mean, what are they not doing, Ron Franklin?
You know, I'm just sitting here thinking, they're not playing the Little Sisters of the Poor. This St. John's basketball team is a very talented crew.
You're talking a top 10 team in America they're playing right here. Oh, here they go. Little showtime. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Oh, Nelly. That is phenomenal.
Nice drive, misses, and Middleton on the foul.
Lamont Middleton with the good offensive rebound. I mean, it's just a thrill to be able to sit here and be paid to watch this kind of performance. This is one of the most impressive performances I've seen in many a year by a club this early in the season, playing this well against a top-rated team, as you said earlier.
We thought this one would be close, but right now,
see how they spread the court?
29 points. There's the steal. Here comes St. John. This is Kane. He'll drive it and can't get it to go, and Seeley with the tap.
Should have had it to Seeley a little bit earlier, so Seeley had to finalize it with the tip. They got such an excellent rotation, Duke, as well, when they bring in guys like Lang and Cherokee Parks. So they're going to make them play and come out here and check us. That's their attitude right now. We're going to go 2-3, foul lane extended, a la Oklahoma State. What this does takes away any kind of help. I'm sure Jimmy could diagram this for the people inside with the telestrator, but it's a 2-3, foul lane extended to bring away help and try to isolate people for some cuts to the goal. Now they go to a 1-4 set.
About to go under 13 minutes left in this one.
Some call it 1-4, some call it a 1-2-2.
Shot clock is down to 6, down to 5. Early. To Laettner.
Mr. Conosecco, only thing he can watch is sit there and watch this club put an absolute clinic on in dribble penetration, in how to get free. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is awesome. This is the 3S performance. Super scintillating and sensational. There it is. Dunked it away. Hold me back, Mr. Franklin. You're on. I can see you're on.
I really am, because Mike said yesterday, you know, he's the guy that speaks his mind, but he just said, yeah, we're pretty good.
You know, he was really amazing today when he saw me, and I walked in. I said, Mike, are you as good as everybody said? He said, Dick, we are good.
He's got Michigan coming up next week, I guess it is. So
right.
they've got some real tests coming up.
Well, I'll tell you, if Michigan turned the ball over 34 times against the University of Detroit, mercy. They may be screaming mercy. Those young kids are going to get a little baptism. The Webbers and company and their great talent. This is a whole different level. Where Davis now becomes contagious.
Now, he walked before he got the slam. So the turnover, 70-41. I don't know which number is more impressive, the 70 or the 41, because to hold St. John's to 41 at this juncture of the ball game also is very noteworthy.
You know, some people have great talent and don't get them to play with the kind of intensity that the Duke kids do on the defensive end. And that, again, was the special trademark of UNLV. The fact that Jerry Tarkanian always had them playing with such intensity and such emotion, especially defensively. And I think that's the great trademark of Mike Krzyzewski. These kids play so hard.
Cherokee Parks just picked up his 3rd foul. If you look at Shawnell Scott.
Certainly Lute Olson does that with his gang down in Arizona. That was one heck of a game last year, Arizona and Duke, and the last second Arizona snuck that game out and beat Duke at Arizona. Also that rematch with LSU, because Shaquille O'Neal, he took on the whole front court of Arizona last year. Had the pleasure of doing that game, and Shaquille was in another world. So we got that game Saturday, LSU and Arizona in Tucson. Going for 65 in a row. And the one great thing about the 64 in a row that he has currently, he doesn't bring in a lot of cupcakes, Lute Olson. He brings in the Dukes and the LSUs.
70-43, Clark.
You got your filler material ready, Mr. Franklin?
Yep, already used it. Clark drives to the lane. It's Verdand with the block of Seeley behind.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
From Malik.
He can flat out play. He's a member of my Elite 11.
22 for him now.
He's saying to all the other guys, where are you? Where have you been? They made that one run. They got it to 8, and then Seeley got the 3rd, went out, and Duke just blew it open.
Early almost stripped by Keene on the floor. Parks goes down hard. In fact, he has injured either a knee or an ankle.
Hurley won a national championship in high school at St. Anthony's. Had Roderick Rhodes with him as Parks comes up with a little ankle problem.
We're down with his 4th foul, so let's take a break. Teams. In fact, let's show you how many teams have fallen already, Richard.
Well, it's amazing, the unpredictability about college basketball. That's what makes it so special. You can read that graphically and see all the clubs that have went down already. But that's the beauty of what college basketball is about, the fact that it is so unpredictable. And I think that's what makes it so special. You look at the NCAA versus the NBA, for example, Ron. In the NBA, a team can lose 3 times during a series and still ultimately win a national championship. College basketball, a la UNLV, the one slip and it's all over. That's why no one's really repeated since 1973 with the John Wooden era, because of the fact that it's so difficult to go undefeated because you have to have everything perfect. And if you have one bad day, a la UNLV, when Stacey Augmon didn't play up to his potential, what happens? You leave with silver instead of gold.
Cherokee Parks was taken out of the game, and we'll try to get a report on him. He does not have a leg encased in ice or anything else, so we would assume that maybe he was just stunned at the time. But the Duke people decided to take him out of the ball game.
Laettner does a great job of screening and then shaping up and posting. He also does a tremendous job on a perimeter with his size as a passer.
There's Cherokee.
Looks like that Big East is going to be wide open. Certainly it looks like Duke clear-cut as the best team in the ACC. North Carolina, after that performance last night. Hubert Davis, there's a kid that doesn't get a lot of publicity. Latrell Sprewell's another one at Alabama. Hubert Davis. P.J. Carlissimo said on his team that he coached when he had Davis, he was one of his better players.
Early foul by Foster. Foster, who scored just a moment ago, junior college transfer. Very hard worker. In fact, that's a shoot-around today. He came right out, went to work, worked very hard the entire time.
Kendrick Warren is another kid at 28 points, 20 rebounds against Richmond. They have a rematch again, VCU, Virginia Commonwealth University. Everybody tells me that this Warren kid is sensational. Talking to Jeff Jones today, the coach of Virginia. There are a lot of what we call unknown kids, kids that don't get a lot of ink out of their local area. We hear about the same names all the time, Rob, but there's so many kids that can play this game.
Yeah, I like the wide openness in the tournament. Look at this, 96% by Duke. As soon as we say it, Hurley misses there.
I think that's ridiculous. You mean they missed 2 free throws? I think that's poor. If I were Mike, I'd load him on a bus, drive to Durham tonight, and get him in the gym and shoot free throws.
Have another midnight scrimmage. I don't know if Grant Hill would go along with that.
See, now, if you're St. John's and you're a kid like Kane right now, you're trying to fight for some minutes, for some playing time. You got to stay within the realm of your offense. And if you're Lou Carnesecca, you take this team, you leave here, and you say, you know what? We're not going to be the first team that they lay a hurt on like this, and we're not going to be the last team. We got to go back, and we got to build from this. We got to learn from it.
Because you have to be careful, not that a St. John's team is fragile, but just the fact that you think you're pretty good and you are pretty good, and all of a sudden you come out in something like this and you get hammered very early on.
Well, I think the one thing it does, it's a wake-up call. If you handle it properly, if you handle it in a very negative way and you really get down on the kids and they lose a little of their self-esteem and a little of their positive attitude, then you got a problem. It could really, mount. So the bottom line is you got to try to build from it and say, hey, we're going to learn. And it's one of those days, it happens to the best of them.
Well, they've cut it back to 21 points. It was 29 a moment ago.
Hill playing out on the point right now. Grant Hill, great ball handler, great vision. There's the high-low entry.
Parks, glad to see him back in the ball game, and Sean L. Scott went on top. You could see mini bodies coming between them very quickly.
I'll tell you, this guy's one of the great diaper dandies.
And look at Grant Hill talking to Cherokee Parks. He's just trying to calm him down.
Yeah, don't get frustrated. They were pointing out yesterday the incident in that Connecticut game with Christian Laettner when they were talking at practice last year when they felt that was a great moment that Laettner didn't retaliate in that Connecticut game when they felt he was really hit in a very unfair manner.
Well, Mike made the point. He said, had he fought and been suspended for a game, he said, we might not have won the national championship. You never can tell what kind of momentum we might have lost.
Connecticut looks really good right now, though. They got a strong club. Jimmy Calhoun's done an amazing job up in UConn, and Chris Smith can play. They got an outstanding freshman in Danielle Marshall. I love their front court. Scotty Burrell is a big-time winner. Sellers, Walker. I mean, they got some good personnel, some good young people. They're going to be tough. And they beat a good Wake Forest team. Wake Forest puts a front court that can play with anyone with Tucker King and also Rockin' Rodney.
Lee Green, who scored.
See how they get the triangle. They enter, form a triangle, get good spacing, so they always get the good shot.
Clark came in, knocked it away. This is
Give it back to Seal.
They break the 3-on-2. David Kane misses.
Should have looked for the trailer. Communication. Get it back to the trailer.
It's on Grant Hill. 4 on him now.
Last year, there was so many great point guards in the ACC. What a great learning process for a guy like Hurley as Hill goes to the sideline. You had to battle every day against a Corciani, against a Crotty, against a Kenny Anderson, against a Walt Williams. Hurley loves playing on the defensive end as well. He's got real good foot speed defensively.
I asked him if Danny is better than him at the same stage, and he said, I think he might be.
He's being very modest. Danny's a good player and a good shooter. He's got to go a long way to be better than his brother, his big brother.
73-54, 19-point game.
That one spurt, they got to put that on film and save it. It was one unbelievable moment. Look at him use the left hand. What versatility from Angola, New York. Nichols School.
Laettner gets an opportunity to complete the three-point play.
That's the one great thing the kids at Duke can do. They can finalize and complete the play. Look at Laettner flashing. Always got the hands up, makes himself big. Look at Parks now. Spinning and pinning inside. And there's the use of the left hand. What a talent. His development's been amazing. He's just gotten better and better and better.
His 26th point, and he's perfect at the line. 13 of 13.
Hurt his foot against the Soviet Union team. A lot of people didn't think he'd be ready for this game. They said he was in here for his workouts all the time. Now they're going to go to the zone. He said, well, we've shown everything else. Let's play a little 2-3 zone. But there's a breakdown. Lang and Laettner don't communicate. Laettner's not zoning. He's playing man. Lang says, come on, Christian, you make me look bad. Louis, he just can't wait to get out of here, put this game in a record book, tuck it away, and get on with the next matchup.
22-point lead with 8 minutes and 34 seconds left to play. Middleton, it kind of says a lot as far as the deep stares into space. And it goes back to what I mentioned a while ago, that, you know, they came in here with a pretty high regard for themselves, knowing they're a good basketball team. And Duke has just done about any and everything they wanted to do.
This is like being a great tennis player and you get a matchup with another star and you really get the whole build-up and you can't wait and you get beaten love.
That's right.
That's happened to me a few times. You know who laid a love beating on me? I couldn't believe it.
Who?
Bill Frieda. I want a rematch with Frieda. In fact, I want to play Bobby Knight one time for some charity. I want to take his backhand and forehand and just take him apart out in Indianapolis for a nice little charity. Can you set it up, Ron? I know you're a tennis guy. Can you set it up?
I'll work on that, yes. Brian Davis.
If I couldn't beat him, I'll make a big donation to his favorite charity. That's a challenge for him. You tell the general, bring his racket, bring his shoes, and let's play. I'll only play him if there's a crowd. And here they are now, stepping out Laettner as a release man. Using the clock. See, they're working on different parts of their game.
Shot clock down to 2 to get it away and no good.
He's not the guy you want to shoot. If there's one liability he possesses, the ability to knock down the jump shot.
Thomas Hill with the save.
He gives him that good defensive stopper, Brian Davis.
Laettner for 3.
Look, a little fatigue there shooting that shot. Look, didn't get his legs into the shot. Remember, as a shooter, you use your legs as well as your rotation and your follow-through in your arms.
Chanel Scott backs it in, and Laettner with the block over the top.
Chanel really posing with the basketball, and Laettner rotates over and says, this is so easy.
Timeout on the floor. 7:19 left to play. Duke by 20.
Opportunity. I enjoy what I'm doing. My biggest problem is going to be when to put it down. I still have that enthusiasm. I still like going to practice. I still think of it as a game and not as work.
I tell you, he's so beautiful. I tell you, when he arrived there in 1965, he replaced Joe Lapchick, who was there for years, now in the Hall of Fame. And he's been such a winner. And then he went to the Nets for a while, for 3 years to the ABA. Got a taste, Coach Rick Barry and that gang. And then he said, I had to get back to college. I love being with the college kids. I just love Lou Carnesecca. I just think he's so phenomenal for the game of basketball for young people.
Hard not to like him. Last year got his 500th collegiate win. And, of course, with that stint with the Nets, he had already picked up over 500 wins.
They got to get Chanel Scott to give him really a positive performance. And he's got to develop some confidence in himself here. He's really laying a push on Lang. He's got to get a little tougher physically.
This is Meek working inside against Foster.
Meek is like really their 10th guy if you look at the charts.
Malik Sealy. And Meek will pick up that foul.
Sealy demonstrated his ability to run out and transition, and that's why I feel he'll be an excellent NBA player. He'll be an outstanding, quick, small forward, and be tough to defend.
Sports Center coming up immediately following the ball game. Give you highlights of other action tonight, not only in the college hoops. And our first game here is the ACC is going to win the challenge this year 6-2. The opening game tonight, Virginia in overtime by 10 over Georgetown.
I think looking at the conferences right now, the Big Ten, he certainly has really improved as far as I'm concerned from last year from the middle of the pack. Minnesota's got a good young basketball team. Rashawn Leonard's really going to help that club. Ariel McDonald can play. Martin in the middle gives him a big guy. Michigan State wins the Maui Classic. They blow out Nebraska. Nebraska's got a pretty good basketball team. So Judd Heathcote's club's going to be good. So there are no real automatics on the bottom. Northwestern beats Vanderbilt. And up on top, we know about the heavyweights. Indiana's got it rolling again. And you talk about Ohio State is outstanding. Randy Ayers has done such a sensational job. And I think in 10 years from today, Randy's going to be one of the big names of college basketball as we look at the Duke bench. Iowa's got a team you've got to really watch. I said earlier this year that I felt that Iowa was going to be my Rip Van Winkle sleeper club. Tom Davis got A.C. Earl in the middle. He's got Val Barnes on a perimeter. You like Iowa, and you got a bunch of young kids at Michigan that on some nights they're going to beat people they're not supposed to beat, and on some nights they're going to get beat by some people because of their youth and playing on the road.
Going to play like the youngsters they are.
Chris Webber, Juwan Howard, Jalen Rose, Jimmy King, flat out can play. But as opposed to coming to a Duke, where a guy like Cherokee Parks learns and becomes part of the picture, Weber has to be the star immediately.
About to hit 6 minutes left in this one. Ron Franklin, Dick Vitale, Greensboro, North Carolina. 20-point ball game as the top-ranked Blue Devils have been extremely convincing.
This is like an eternity right now for Louis Carnesecca.
Well, Dan Patrick and Gary Miller with SportsCenter. Louisville Notre Dame highlights. Now the Rockets against the rebounding Hawks, and they are absent of Mr. Olajuwon and also Foreman's forecast. All about on SportsCenter tonight.
I caught a little bit of Kevin Willis. Are you ready for his numbers? Kevin Willis, are you serious? 30 rebounds in a game, getting 20 every night. What has got into the big fella? It must be contract time. It must be contract time. And now they're going to make it a little lengthy. Come on, guys, let's get it rolling here. This is an eternity. Louis wants to load the bus. He's talking to Brian. Let's go home. Let's get ready for the next game. Let's eat some pasta. There's Lenny Wirtz. He's got an easy night at the office. This game has never been in doubt since the first 2 minutes.
No. But Louis got that same pasta house that he goes to, doesn't he?
Yeah, he
and eats after every ball game.
Gets that linguine and that nice Chianti. You know, it's amazing. They're only down 19. I mean, it's not as a blowout as you think, and the score could end up a little bit respectable, but it was that one run, that one spurt that was so unbelievable.
Grant Hill loses it. Meek.
Eric Meek trying to earn some playing time, but he gets hit with the charge by Lenny Wirtz. He says in California in high school, they'd count that.
ESPN brings you the best NFL coverage starting at noon on Sunday with NFL Game Day. Then at 7 o'clock, NFL Primetime gives you highlights from the biggest games. And at 8 o'clock, the Minnesota Vikings against Tampa Bay. That means AC Anthony Carter.
Hey, I live down in the Tampa area. Testaverde, when is it going to happen, Vinny, baby? I'm one of your fans. Richard Williamson could be in trouble for that job, and Burns has stepped aside down in Minnesota. Hey, maybe Bill Parcells. They can throw his name all over the place. He likes the TV booth, but I still think he has coach in his heart. He says this TV's too easy, not much of a challenge. I want to get on the sideline.
Shaley with the pass. Brown will score it. All of a sudden, it is a 17-point game. The biggest lead of the night was Duke by 31, 68-37.
Nice pass in transition. St. John's getting a little life. I was just thinking, if Parcells comes to Tampa, I'll even buy season tickets because he's that good of a coach to watch him coach.
He might charge you double.
And I'll tell you one thing, I don't pay for anything either. I'll buy them for him. Eric Meek getting some points on the board. Look at Laettner. He says he had no challenge tonight. He hasn't stopped scoring, has he? Malik. He just keeps going on and on and on.
26 points for him now.
When you assess these matchups, the ACC and the Big East, as we look at the fifth foul, comes Wardan on the floor and Middleton.
Grant Hill with his fifth foul. Thomas Hill is back up.
They have to think of a great job. I think that Gary Williams has done with a club that has one really big-time player. As Hill goes down the sideline, what a great talent. You have to watch him in practice to appreciate how good this kid is and watch him every day. And Mike says today, he said, Dick, this is one special superstar.
He leaves with 15 points.
You know, but Gary Williams, I was talking about when Maryland did a great job. What about Les Robinson? Tom Gugliotta really carries the club, and they get a good win. And Jimmy Boeheim with a short deck with no size whatsoever goes out and beats a Florida State team that a lot of people had preseason top 20 in America.
Yeah, Kennedy's club played Indiana at the sub-regional until it was like a home game at Louisville for Bobby and his guys. Well, but they jumped out early.
That was one of the better defensive performances I've seen by Syracuse, the way they came after people.
There is a timeout. Duke 82-66, just over 4 to play. Now, and here's the Reebok storyline. Duke 31 of 33 from the free throw line. 94%. Laettner, you see his numbers, extremely impressive. St. John's 19 turnovers. Seeley has 27. That's 27 points.
You know, they got it to respectability in terms of when you look at the score in a book, it'll be a respectable score. But it really was an absolute annihilation and a blowout. And if Mike doesn't break up combinations, there's no telling what the margin could have been.
31 points was the biggest lead of the night, as I mentioned a moment ago. Seeley hustling for the ball. That's 3 of it goes. Yes.
I'll tell you
what, gives him 30 points.
The more and more I watch him, the more and more I like him. He just keeps to get better and better and expands his game.
Well, he's playing the entire second half with 3 fouls. Still hasn't picked up one.
It's down to 13, but there's no threat. You don't feel any threat whatsoever. Watch Duke execute this 2-3 foul line extended offense where they're looking for the backcourt. Look, he got a little nervous, Mike. He says, it's time now, Eric, to come to the sideline. Let's get Christian. So if there's one real solution right now, or one moment of joy for St. John's, is they force Krzyzewski to bring in Laettner. Now, that's the positive you sell to your kids tomorrow. You say, you know what? We forced them with 3 minutes on the clock to bring Laettner in. And
they have cut it by 18 points.
Yeah, and you know what else? We've outscored them by 18 in that one spurt. So you pound that in their head. Because a coach has to be a psychiatrist and a psychologist, and you got to work on their mind. And that's what Luigi will do.
.69, just under 4 to play.
Foul line extended. There's the back cut by Clark. They try to use some clock, but they're thinking score out of this. Oklahoma State ran it against Georgia Tech in the NIT final.
See number 10 there in white, Chris Mullen.
Alan McGuire ran this in 1977. He called it his Creighton. He got it from Eddie Sutton when he played against Creighton. Oh, there's a good look.
Where Dan will pick up the foul. They got it up. Malik Seeley now with 4 fouls. As Meek will come in, Laettner will come back out.
Went to LSU, and he almost went to Georgetown. Valedictorian of his class, I said earlier. See, where Dan's got to get involved in the offense a little more. Robert's too good a player. He can shoot the ball.
Well, let's look at the challenge so far, in case you've not been keeping up with it. Scott Burrell with 20 points, 6 assists, and 4 rebounds to lead Connecticut over Wake Forest. Then Pitt against North Carolina State. Tom Gugliotta, 25 points and 8 boards. NC State won that one. Then Florida State and Syracuse. This is the game that Dick was talking about. Dave Johnson, 29 points, 7 of 11 from three-point range. Georgia Tech and Villanova. Tech wins it handily. James Forrest, 19 points, 9 boards in that one. We'll continue in just a moment. .31 points now for Malik Seeley.
In that Georgia Tech game with Villanova, Larry Conley really broke it down well and talked about as Wardan gets a score inside.
11-point game.
How Forrest really got involved in their offense. They made an adjustment and slid him inside. See, they broke a little momentum, Duke. They substituted, broke some momentum, and it got interesting. And they scrapped and fought. You got to give St. John's credit. They're just fighting and fighting and fighting. They're not just laying down.
St. John's is cut it by 20 points. They were down by 31.
He's playing Meek on the floor right now, too, Mike.
Early with the feed, and Davis right there. Squirt, and he'll go to the line.
Well, he doesn't get an assist on that, baby. I'll tell you, the St. John's kids at least leave here with respectability and can leave here with something positive.
Let's finish off the ACC Big East Challenge. Then the Providence and Maryland, Walt Williams, what a night. 20 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, and Maryland wins it by 10. And then Seton Hall in North Carolina, George Lynch, 13 points, 14 boards. And North Carolina wins it huge. Well, and in case you missed this one tonight, in overtime, Virginia by 10. Bryant Stiff with 24 points and 6 rebounds. Stiff with a great night. Started scoring early and just kept it up.
It was tough luck for Alonzo Mourning getting in foul trouble early. He'll be much more effective. I really believe this on a professional game with the way they allow the contact to take place and his physical presence and his ability to really play in a more of a man-to-man situation where people can't collapse all over him. Alonzo Mourning showed me a great deal here tonight.
Foster will follow and he'll score.
Foster getting some good minutes. I'll tell you one thing, these St. John's kids have really fought, because when they were down 30, I mean, it looked like it was going to go maybe to a 40 or 50-point rout. I mean, the way Duke was playing, but they scrapped and they clawed and they at least get out of here. There's no such thing as a moral victory, but at least they get some respectability. What is that ugly puss? Hey, Dickie, what's that thing they drew?
Hill gets that one to go down as well. So with 1:53 left to play, it's now a 14-point game again. 14 for him. Malik Cedar reverses it and scores, and he'll go to the line.
I just love Malik, and the more you watch him, the more you love him. The kid has shown he has range as a shooter. He's shown that he can run the core. He shows he can score against great defense. Big-time scorer. He's just got that mentality of scoring. He knows how to score. Look at Malik right now. He said, hey, Duke, I can play up on a rim too, baby. Look at the reverse with the left hand. Lays it on the glass. Look at him fighting. Look at him battling Lamont Middleton. He's got to be proud of their effort here, the way they battled and battled. He still thinks he has hope. He looks at the board. He takes a little peek at it and says, maybe, look at it. Maybe a couple threes. Krzyzewski says, I know we got this W. This one's tucked away.
Christian Ast is the man who's called for the foul, number 54. Sophomore, originally from Heidelberg, Germany.
I mean, he made that sign. I'm not that ugly, Ron. You know that. You even come. I'm not that ugly. St. Johnny's, I love these fans. They're beautiful. What a way to make a living, dealing with all these beautiful young people.
Seeley will go to the line. Sports Center coming up next.
Look at this. He's forcing him to go to the bench and bring Laettner and Hill back on the floor. I'll tell you one thing, that is a little bit of a little victory if you can take a little victory in terms of Carnesecca and use it in a very positive way with his team. So look, guys, we made them go to the bench with 1:42. We got it to 11. We go to the line. No moral victories, though, at this level.
34 points now for Malik.
St. John's fans behind us.
Malik Seeley, 35 points.
There's Mullen, Chris Mullen's brother, Terrence. Chris Mullen broke the heart of Mike Krzyzewski. That was one of his heartbreaking losses. He thought he had him here down at Duke. And then he said, I'm going to St. John's, staying at home. And then the following year, he started lining up all the great ones. The Alleries and company, the Dawkins. 1986 had that final game, won 37 games. Duke lost to Louisville. in Dallas. 4 consecutive trips to the Final Four. What an accomplishment. You better believe Mike Krzyzewski, when it's all said and done, will be a member of the Hall of Fame.
Mullen will be called for the foul. 1:16 left to play in this one. Blakeney misses the first one.
Blakeney's out of a great program out of DeMatha High School. Morgan Wooten, one of the great high school coaches of all time. Very close with John Wooden. Blakeney redshirted last year. Hasn't been able to get in their rotation in their top 9 players.
Seeley, 37 of them.
He's a machine down there. He's got that Bernard King release where he shoots that jump shot on the way up. He's got that quick release.
He's got 23 second-half points. He had 14 at halftime.
Well, the thing I like about him, he never hung his head. He never got down. He just kept battling, battling, and battling.
Louis is still up and coaching across the way as his club has cut it back to 8 points.
I'll tell you one thing. They got to really be proud of the way they battled back. Mike helped the situation with breaking up his combinations, though, in terms of subbing. Broke up the rhythm of the great run that they had.
Both of them. 10 points and 60 seconds.
The question, can he get it to single digits? Can he get it to single digits? Walk-in violation.
Travel against Buchanan.
Jason came out of Nottingham High School, which is in the Syracuse area. Look at him directing. Look at him like a director, Laettner. Pointing, you go here, you go there, pass, run out the clock. I'm starving, Ron. Come on now, you got to treat me for dinner. I'm starving. We've been here all day. Let's end this, baby. Tuck it away. Get on with Sports Center.
Soon to be midnight here on the East Coast.
Dribble out the clock. No fouls. Don't slow down. Spreading the court. Go to a double stack.
It's going to be an over and back.
Over and back violation. I'll tell you, Duke was so impressive, beating a good basketball team. Forget about the margin of victory. We saw that one run in the second half, and that shows you what Duke was all about. And they just blew this one open. The margin of victory, really academic, but the one great thing for Luke on the second, his kids never laid down, and they could leave here at least with a little bit of pride that they battled back. And Seeley, was he special?
Well, I'll tell you, both of the players that we highlighted before the game tonight in this game number 2 were just as special as their Phillies. Malik Seeley for St. John's and Christian Laettner for Duke. And now for Dick Vitale, Ron Franklin saying so long from Greensboro. 91-81. Duke wins it. John Summers, back to you.
All right, Ron and Dick, thank you very much. St. John's battles back to a 10-point game, but let's face it, it was not a 10-point game. As a result, the ACC with a nice sweep of the night. SportsCenter comes away with Gary Miller and Dan Patrick in just a moment, but the scoreboard: Duke, Virginia, NC State, Maryland, Georgia Tech, and North Carolina winners. Syracuse and Connecticut, the lone 2 victories for the Big East. So 6-2 this year. It was 6-2 last year for the Big East.
scoring, making his free throws, had the big first half, made all the big plays when the game was on the line, and they broke it open with that great spurt. So Mr. Christian Laettner is definitely our sensational player today, and our Panasonic Palm Quarter player of the game. 26 points, 13.
Is 31 on the Redmen. They finally win for the first time in this tournament. They knocked the Redmen out in the last time they met in the Midwest Regional Final last March in the NCAAs. At the Joyce Center, Louisville against a strong